Back in the 1980s, Sega could do no wrong in the arcades. Their games always stood out and quite often had cabinets that could be described as rides. Thunderblade is no exception. The arcade cabinet looked like a cockpit of a helicopter that would spin from side to side in tandem with the action on screen. The control stick was also like that of a real helicopter, so it comes as no surprise that the main plot of the game is based upon the 80s helicopter action TV show Blue Thunder, and that the title screen is ripped straight from the Blue Thunder movie. Man, Sega had some balls doing that. The Sharp X68000 version was handled by Sharp's own in-house dev team. After their pretty poor Super Hang-On port, you'd expect Thunderblade to be even worse, but no, it's actually a very good rendition of the arcade game. At first glance, some people may think that it's arcade perfect, but in reality it's quite cut back. Still, it is the best home version out there and surprisingly plays really well. THX were behind most of the European home computer ports, and we all know what THX ports are normally like. Yep, total crap. But wait, this Amiga port isn't that bad. The nasty Pepsi cache-in is awful, but then again, this was the Pepsi game of summer. I think that's why THX actually made an effort this time. Can't piss off the main sponsor. Anyway, graphically the game is pretty impressive. However, the overhead to third person transitions are now gone, but that's just a minor grumble. Gameplay is good, although the controls will take a little time to get used to. Basically in all but the C64 version, in the third person mode you can't increase or decrease your altitude while firing. This makes taking out certain enemies while maneuvering a little tricky. Based upon the Amiga version, as most ST ports are, doesn't often fare too well for Atari's 16-bit home computer, and Thunderblade is no exception. The game is constantly shifting the speed it runs at, making for an annoying experience at times. Some say the Mega Drive version is a sequel to the arcade game, but in fact it's meant to be an enhanced version of the game. Programmed by Yuji Naka, this port, for its time, was okay at best. The 3D areas are choppy due to cartridge memory restrictions, less space for different sized sprites, and the 2D sections look very plain. The sound effects can also completely drown out the music at times. For an early Mega Drive game, Thunderblade isn't bad, but there are many better versions out there. NEC handled the PC Engine port, and they pretty much gave Yuji Naka the middle finger when it comes to programming skills. The PC Engine version, as you can see, tries to replicate the arcade game much closer than the Mega Drive game. Not only that, but it controls better. The Mega Drive version feels stiff, while this feels more fluid. And let's not forget that the PC Engine is a weaker system. Hey look, the 2D sections on the Master System game look better than those on the Mega Drive. For the Master System, this looks pretty good. Sure, the 3D sections are choppy, but not bad for the system. This is one tough port, mind you, and the one I played before any other back when I was 12 or so. This version is horrible, choppy as hell with crappy default audio. Add the horrid keyboard controls that I'm using, made this not a very enjoyable experience at all. As far as I'm aware, this is the only Euro home computer port that THX were not involved in, and it shows. Programmed by Chris Butler, this port looks amazing for an 8-bit home computer, plus plays really well. It's the only home computer port that allows you to fire and decrease altitude in the third person sections. An excellent port that Commodore 64 owners should check out, but make sure you choose the music option. So much more fun than playing with the sound effects option. suffering from crippling slowdown and unresponsive controls makes the CPC version one to pass on. It's a shame too, since the actual graphics are pretty good. Then again, the computer AI is last. In the third person sections, it's possible just to stay in the same place without taking any enemy fire. Quite possibly the easiest and most boring version of Thunderblade out there. Well, apart from the Tiger LCD game, that is. Just like the Amstrad port, this also suffers from terrible slowdown. Maybe not as bad as the Amstrad, but still enough to ruin the game in places. Still, it does look pretty for the Spectrum game. Now let's take a look at all those versions of Thunderblade running side by side.